So, like, I just, like, fell asleep, like 10 minutes ago, and I've been, like, preparing myself, just trying to wake up as much as I can so that I can freaking watch this goddamn video. I swear to God, I will not fall asleep again. I'm gonna be so pissed if I fall asleep. I would be. So, the long-awaited sequel to Apple Sleep Experiment finally released. Holy frick! It's been like about 2 years since I first ever watched the first Apple Sleep Experiment. It's freaking fantastic. I loved it a lot. I still love it a lot. I rewatched it like last week or whatever, or like couple weeks ago. Still freaking bopping of the thing, man. God, I'm gonna I need sleep when I can't finish sentences. Dude, half of my sentences are not going to make sense during this reaction video, but that's okay. That's okay. We're just gonna have fun. We're just gonna watch
Warning.
the thing.
The following reading contains subject matter that some listeners might find disturbing or difficult to hear. Is advised.
Let's go. Ooh, a little bit of an intro here. Ooh, got my pipe, but can't speak. My pipe pony with the story, banger story. You got I Am Shadow, probably is Twilight, Mary Melody, Life Cloud 9. See if I recognize these people. Scooter! Oh, Scooter! They got Scooter Trick? Bro, you're telling me they got the comedic genius Scooter Tricks to be a part of another Apple Sleep Experiment? What are they doing here? What do you mean? Oh my god, it's amazing. Holy frick, I love Scooter Tricks, dude. Scooter Tricks, like, made, in my opinion, like, one of, like, the holy five or whatever breast freaking MLP fan content out. God, I can't speak. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Got a scribble, of course. Got a narrator. Duty. Okay. Of course, you got Magpie Lost. Oh, another Apple Sleep Experiment. God, I need some sleep. Very relatable.
Autumn in Ponyville. While the rest of Equestria readied themselves for Nightmare Night the next month, Ponyville busied themselves with preparations for their memorial. Commemoration was the name it was given by the princesses years ago, as it was the only title that seemed appropriate. Although this year marked the 7th anniversary of the memorial's creation, it was still a sore spot for most Ponyvillians. It was created in lieu of cider season at the once active Sweet Apple Acres. Commemoration is a time to reflect and honor those who were lost to the Great Massacre. Most ponies were never truly given a satisfying reason for the senseless killings all those years ago. The princesses remained as tight-lipped as the survivors did. Eventually, between Twilight's reassurances and the lack of new victims, fear and anxiety in Ponyville slowly ebbed. It was Twilight who initially proposed the memorial in hopes that it would ease the pain and bring normalcy back to Ponyville. Of course, in doing so, she and her friends had become the unofficial conductors of the memorial. They nursed their own sorrows by making each year better than the last.
Man,
It was the evening before the festivities, and magic was ringing in the halls of the Castle of Friendship. An alicorn, 2 unicorns, and a pegasus were scrambling to finish their decoration contributions as the sunset drew nearer.
What's Starlight doing
Flying
right now with a
overhead
hammer
of the
and a
throne room,
screwdriver?
Fluttershy was attempting to place a thick purple drape, adorned with ribbons, upon the rafters, according to Rarity's specifications. A task that seemed easy enough, had it not been for Rarity's refusal to settle for anything less than perfection.
No, 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 that simply will not do.
Rarity shrilly called to the pale yellow Pegasus.
Well,
Fluttershy
you
sighed in
won't
frustration,
do, Rarity.
lowering her hoof and holding back the urge to roll her eyes.
What's wrong this time?
Fluttershy called back to her friend in exasperation, wondering how Rarity could be so far away, yet still see some imagined imperfection for the placement of said drapery. Rarity didn't seem to catch or mind the Pegasus's tone.
It's a 1/4 of an inch too far to the right. Even I can see that. While I am grateful for your help, Fluttershy, you know how flawlessly decorated the castle must be for our future guests.
Rarity called out.
I mean, it's a 1/4 inch. Like, what's a 1/4 inch gonna do? Is a 1/4 inch just gonna, like, jump out at you and scare you and be like, oh, I'm a 1/4 inch. Ah, fear me. Honestly, though, I would be scared more by 1/2 inch than a 1/4 of an
hoping her
inch.
friend would follow and agree with her logic. She looked away from the ceiling for a moment to finish the stitch she had started on the vast tapestry draped over her hooves. The tapestry was 20 feet in length and nearly took up the entire mapless table in the center of the room.
Why does it look like there's, like, socks on
along
there?
with the complicated stitchwork and the bright appealing colors. Bonbon's silhouette took center stage in the piece,
sockies.
her name expertly sewn beneath it. When Fluttershy didn't echo Rarity's logic, Rarity turned to Twilight to back up her statement.
Wouldn't you agree, Twilight?
Twilight Sparkle, the princess of friendship, didn't seem to heed the growing tension between her friends as she busied herself with a checklist. It was nearly as long as Rarity's unfinished masterpiece. She glanced up from her scroll, tired eyes locking on the unicorn, before following her gaze to the drapery above.
It looks great, Rarity.
Twilight muttered absently, as the quill in her magic jotted down yet another unchecked task.
Just move it slightly to the left, Fluttershy, and you'll be good. We
What
really
are
don't
you
have
doing,
time to fuss
Starlight?
over silly details like that.
Starlight Glimmer firmly
Is that even a
chided,
screwdriver?
like a mother scolding her misbehaving children. Starlight's horn was aglow, and she was busying herself with ice picks and a giant slab of ice.
Oh, okay, alright, Starlight. I was expecting her to just be, like, hanging up tapestries or something. I did not expect, like, ice sculpture. That's freaking cool. Oh my god, that's amazing, Starlight. Let's go.
She'd been sculpting for the better part of an hour now, and she took great pride in the art that she was able to create thus far.
Did you do that
the
in, like,
sculpture
just an hour
showcased
or,
each
like...
of the fallen, and Starlight only hesitated for a moment when she reached for the smooth surface of ice, where the 14th pony would be. Starlight's heart panged and stomach clenched. She swallowed back a burp of bile, knowing that it would do no good to bring up her objections for the 6th consecutive year. This memorial had become a staple in the lives of the Ponyvillians. Ponies understandably wanted the 14th pony remembered and honored, even if, unbeknownst to them, she was the pony who had slaughtered the rest. Rarity bristled at Starlight's comment, dismissing her initial statement.
And how exactly do you suppose that the ice sculpture won't melt by tomorrow?
Rarity asked, and though the question was genuine, her tone reflected her inner bitterness.
I've done my research. There's a spell that prevents ice from melting. I found it in an old book in the library.
Easy.
Starlight answered tactfully and devoid of annoyance. Still, Rarity was unimpressed. Fluttershy said nothing, secured the drape in place, and flew back to the ground before Rarity could protest yet again. Rarity pursed her lips to the side in defeat.
Who's the top?
She was clearly
Is it
outnumbered.
Apple Bloom that's on top?
It'll do. Next, I'll have you hang the floral arrangements.
Fluttershy's ears dropped, along with her stomach. Just when she finally felt freed from Rarity's discerning eye, she was thrust back into the thick of it again. Starlight rolled her eyes and put the finishing touch on the final sculpture. As much as she would have loved to take a step back and reflect on the ice sculpture's mastery, Starlight instead turned away from it. She was hoping no pony would notice its completion, so she wouldn't have to be reminded of that final face. However, a Pegasus desperate to get out of floral hanging duty was only too pleased to offer up a compliment.
You know, Starlight wasn't in the first Apple Sleep experiment, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of interesting how Starlight is being more utilized as a character here. I find that interesting. Like, because she wasn't there when the killings were occurring. So it'll definitely bring more of a unique perspective to this whole little, do I call it a series? I mean, technically it is a series now. Let's call it a series. Let's call it a series, yeah.
It's lovely.
Fluttershy said with an encouraging smile. She trailed off a little when she too saw the 14th face. Seeing that confident, unbridled joy on that frozen, lifeless face was too much for her delicate sensibilities. She could do nothing but suffer the impact of the tidal wave of grief.
I miss her.
Fluttershy's statement hung in the air like a dead weight. Rarity, Twilight, and Starlight paused whatever they were doing to linger in the awkward silence, while they simultaneously stared at the ice. Unlike Starlight's bitterness and Fluttershy's grief, Twilight was grappling with a deep-seated guilt. It may have been several years since she had last seen that pony's face, but she could never forget their final conversation.
Applejack, I don't know what you're talking about. There was no potion. You worked yourself too hard and it caused a mental break.
Twilight could only
God, let me tell you, that scene, bro, when I first watched that scene hit hard, dude. Ooh, wee! Hot dog.
speculate how painful those words, those lies, must have been for the former element of honesty. When she reflected on that day, she still wasn't sure what compelled her to leave her former best friend in such a callous way. On better nights, she could justify her actions by remembering how important friendship is for other ponies in Equestria to embrace. Even if she, Princess of Friendship, had failed her friend, she could still turn it into a lesson. She impressed upon others the importance of what she had learned, and hoped that it would be enough to prevent something like this from ever happening again. If she was found culpable, it would create a lasting and damaging effect to the ideals she was supposed to uphold. Even so, the profound, painful grip of remorse would never let her truly forget that it was her choice to leave Applejack the way she did. So, Twilight resigned herself to an unspoken atonement and guard over Ponyville like an immortal sentry. She took the role so serious, in fact, that she turned down her former teacher's request to rule all of Equestria and allow the royal sisters to retire. The silence in the throne room had now lingered for too long, but no pony was willing.
Call me stupid. No, it's okay. I am stupid, like, most of the time during my videos, but, like, also I might be in a drunken slumber brain state of dumbness, but, they said lies and such, like, here's what my brain is thinking right now. My brain is being like, all right, so did Twilight lie about the potion stuff during that last scene? Just turned into a microwave. It just turned into a microwave.
To be the first to break it. Luckily, the double doors across the way burst open and ended the silence for them. A bright pink earth pony paraded into the room. She triumphantly pushed a large dessert cart into view.
I know I need some sleep, but you actually
Pinkie
need
Pie
some
called
sleep,
out
please.
joyously with a voice so powerful it could have alerted the entire castle. She hurriedly pushed the cart towards the others to show off the various cupcakes, pies, custards, pastries, and the elaborate 4-tiered cake that she had prepared in the castle's kitchens.
Oh my, you made more?
Fluttershy asked nervously,
Get some help, Pinkie,
her
please.
eyes beholding the trove of sugary delights, with more horror than appreciation.
So Twilight's
How many
tired and
ponies are coming to the
Pinkie's
party, and I
tired.
want every pony to try as many different desserts as they like.
Pinkie answered swiftly,
It's not a good
blissfully
sign.
unaware of Fluttershy's skepticism.
There are only so many ponies in Ponyville.
Starlight said pointedly. She glowered at the ever-growing mountain of desserts.
True, but
Fluttershy's
that
just
doesn't
like,
count the ponies of Canterlot, Cloudsdale, the Crystal Empire, Trottingham, Hoovington, Appaloosa.
Wait, what?
Twilight interjected, finally resting her quill to join the conversation.
I'm just so superly duperipically nervous-sighted for the party. I sense girls everywhere. This year's celebration will be so big that all of Equestria will commensecrate with us. Rememberate? Commemorate. I can never remember what it's called. So get those taste testers tester ready. It's time for my next course of creamy, dreamy cupcakes.
Commemorate.
There was a collective churn of stomachs
Celebrate?
in the room at the mention of
Commemorate?
trying Pinkie's desserts. She had started baking 3 days ago and hadn't stopped. It wouldn't have been so unbearable if she hadn't been so insistent on her friends trying and approving each new batch. Every pony was well beyond their tolerance of concentrated sugar.
I have every flavor you could possibly think of. Strawberry, raspberry, boysenberry, bumbleberry, banana, orange, blue, and...
Blue?
Pinkie stopped.
Blue. Also, blue's not a flavor. Chocolate? Vanilla? Desk flavor? Grass flavored? Grass covered in different flavored cupcakes that have been flavored with different colors of grasses, which are based off the different seasons, which are flavored from Legos? Doesn't sound like every flavor to me.
Mid-rapid ramble, and her demeanor instantly dropped. She'd unintentionally told a lie by declaring that she had made every flavor. There was one flavor she had purposely left out, a flavor and ingredient that she would
Don't
never
I know?
use again. Ponies had asked her periodically why she no longer baked apple desserts, but she would simply state that apples reminded her too much of sadness, and the subject would
Fair
be
enough.
dropped immediately.
Fair
Once
enough.
again, the silence hung in the air, but this time was cut short by the sound of a speedy Pegasus zipping through the open doors
Aw,
and
yeah,
completing the
Rainbow
circle
did
of
it.
friends.
What's going on, Rainbow?
We're planning or decorating or something, right?
Rainbow Dash asked, hovering over her throne chair around the circular table. Rarity scrunched up her face in disapproval.
The rest of us certainly have been. We've been here since dawn and still have so far to go. This is only
Dawn?
the 10th tapestry, you know.
Well, what time
I'd
is it
stay up all
now?
night to finish the rest. What could
Like
possibly have been more
1:30
important than
p.m.
this?
over here.
Me and the Wonderbolts
The
were.
Wonderbolts and I.
Whatever. We were practicing the routine that we were gonna perform tomorrow, and I wanted to make sure that it was just right. And then, well, Spitfire made this comment about how I was gonna tire myself out, and I said that even with all
Tire.
the practice, I could still whoop her ass in the
Tire.
race. And
Car
well, it
tire.
kinda turned into me racing all the Wonderbolts to prove my point.
Rainbow admitted with a guilty smile.
My animals haven't been fed all day. We really could have used your help.
Fluttershy interjected in exasperation.
Okay, see, I'm uncomfortable with how much work the main 5 now. Well, I guess the main 6, because we got Starlight now. So you know what? I'm gonna still call them the main 6. I'm uncomfortable with how the main 6 seem to be in a state right now where they're doing a lot of work and they're going to get tired. Like, I don't know what the frick is gonna happen, but just the idea of them getting tired in this series makes me just a little bit uncomfortable. Just a teeny bit.
And Rainbow was surprised to see her, of all ponies, aggravated at her absence. She knew it must be serious if Fluttershy was frustrated.
I'm sorry. I'm here now, and I'm still not too tired to help. Here, I'll hang these.
Rainbow said, gathering some of the bouquets on the ground and zooming around the room. Rarity's eyes widened in horror. She trusted Rainbow at least to hang her floral arrangements just right. She tried to protest, but Twilight spoke first.
That'll save us some time. Since Pinkie Pie apparently invited all of Equestria, we had to get these tasks done as quickly as possible. I divided our duties into separate lists.
Does that mean
Twilight
we get to see
said,
Capper?
horrifying the bunch by
I would love to see
levitating long
Capper.
scrolls of
Oh my
checklist
God.
items to...
They taped Starlight's cutie mark over Apple. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's a good detail. That's a very good detail. Okay, I'm calling them the main 6 now. But that brings up a good question, though. See, I'm struggling. No, the castle did exist in the first Apple Sleep experiment. I'm remembering now. But how does the map feel about Applejack? You know, how does the map feel about it? Has anybody ever, just talk to the map, be like, hey, how do you feel about Applejack, becoming that? Yeah, how does the map feel? I wish I could just have a conversation with the map. Can somebody, write something where the map actually talks? Because we see the map all the time, but it's always silent. I'd like to have some personality to it. Give them, a high-pitched voice, or no, give him a low-pitched voice. Give him a very low-pitched voice, He'll be a great guy. He'd be a great guy.
To each of her friends.
If we get started now, we should finish about an hour before the celebration begins.
Sure wish a certain little assistant was around to help us.
Rarity grumbled bitterly while eyeing her task list.
But I suppose one does have to leave the nest eventually and forge a path all their own.
Don't worry, Rarity. Every pony is invited, and we can catch up all day tomorrow.
Pinkie exclaimed happily, rolling the checklist and depositing it into her mane, as if to glean the information on the scroll through osmosis.
But first, we've got work to do.
Don't I know?
A collective sound of sighing around the room was followed
Too
by
much
various
work to
admissions of
do.
agreement. It was going to be a long night.
No, not for me. After watching this, I'm going to bed. I'm going to sleep.
The hours ticked by, and eventually,
I was eating
Twilight
donuts.
Sparkle found herself hunched over a desk in her bedroom.
Literally
Her eyes
me
were
right now.
transfixed on the specific scroll laid out in front of her, while a quill, held aloft in magic, waited for the next...
Quill. I'm about to become Twilight right now. I'm about to get a piece of paper and some pencil. You thought I was lying? Idiot.
next cue.
I'm kidding.
Twilight broke a moment of long, unblinking concentration when the candle she had ignited to write by snuffed itself out, its wax spent. She ignited a new candle inside, crumpling the parchment in her magic
Don't
and tossing
crumple
it
the
aside
paper,
with the other
no.
discarded failures.
I'm not crumpling my paper.
Twilight peered
gonna
at
be
the
taking
task
notes.
list she had meticulously written for herself. But the nagging feeling in her stomach prevented her from moving past the little checkbox labeled write the hostess speech to start the memorial. She knew that it had to be just right. Somehow, she had to convey that it was okay to celebrate the lives of their loved ones and still feel sorrow for their absence. She needed every pony to feel safe, secure, and protected by their princess. She also needed to stress the importance of friendship during trying times like these, and that was the part tripping her up the most.
Can I offer
Just
you
as
an egg in
Twilight
these
pulled a
trying
new
times?
clean scroll from her desk drawer to start again, she heard frantic hooves pounding against the stone floor. The sound was growing increasingly louder as they approached from down the hall. Typically, Starlight Glimmer would graciously knock before interrupting her mentor, but there was no hesitation now when she burst through the bedroom doors. Twilight saw the terrified look on Starlight's face.
Starlight,
and
what's
whirled
wrong?
around to face her. Aside from the panic, the only thing Twilight noted out of place was the scroll held too tightly in Starlight's magic, hovering nearby.
Starlight? What's...
Starlight didn't answer, but magicked the scroll to the princess so
She escaped.
hastily it
She
almost
escaped.
collided into her face.
She escaped.
Twilight dodged the throw, taking the scroll from Starlight's magic into her own before scanning the semi-crumpled urgent message. As she read, reality refused to sink in. Only a few key words and phrases stuck out in the unicorn's mind. Escaped. A struggle. The Canterlot guards...
Okay, we gotta write this down. We're gonna write her feelings down. Alright, time to panic. Oh God, please do not make me into... A pencil lid broke. Into a bloody sandwich. Thanks. Alright, looking good, looking good.
Birds can't recall the past few days. She was living in a waking nightmare, and each word she read pulled her deeper into that soul-shattering terror. Twilight reread the scroll once, then twice again in a silent panic, while the distressed Starlight waited on bated breath for what to do next.
I'm distressed.
When the princess didn't pull her darting eyes away or speak, Starlight finally interjected.
If it's been days, she could be in Ponyville by now.
Twilight glanced up at Starlight with pinprick pupils.
Put a magic
Despite the
barrier
bile
around
rising
all
in
of
her
Ponyville.
throat,
Do
she
a
forced
lockdown.
herself to remain calm and
Force
take
everybody
back
to stay
control of the
inside.
situation before her own fears and guilt incapacitated her completely.
We need to get word to the girls. They're the only ones who know that Applejack is still alive and...
Twilight stopped abruptly when she and Starlight both heard rustling from above. The sound was muffled, but both mares' minds spiraled with all the possibilities. Was it an open window? Was it hoofsteps? Was it something knocked over in haste? Neither of them could be sure, but both feared the worst.
I'll check it out.
Starlight said, vanishing before Twilight could respond. Twilight's heart was racing, and beads of sweat formed on her brow. How could this be possible? How could Applejack escape? Perhaps Applejack's story softened the heart of one of the guards, and he helped her escape. But even if she had escaped Canterlot's prison, where would she go?
No, what's with
What
the weird
would she
voice?
do? How would she react to seeing her friends again? How would she react to seeing Twilight again?
You're
Twilight's
messing with
heart
my
was
brain
beating
right
fast
now.
and loud now, but she felt as though
Not
she
that I
were
have a
trapped
brain
in the
right
belly
now.
of a great drum. She realized that she had been uselessly pacing for an unknown amount of time, just trying to grapple with the cascading horrified thoughts of what was to come. Blinking a few times, she forced her hooves into action, praying that she could devise some sort of plan to fix this egregious mistake. Twilight learned long ago never to underestimate what Applejack was capable of, and knew that she would need specific supplies before she began the hunt. She raced to the far side of the bedroom and ignited her horn. She had to ignore the hiccup lapses of magic, from sheer anxiety, to find the specific stone in the wall behind her bed. The stone pressed deeper into the wall with magic as the bed began to rumble. Slowly, a platform under the bed gave way to a secret set of stone steps, leading to a dark room below. Twilight galloped down the steps, 2 at a time, as torches along the walls ignited to shine her way forward. She stopped at the bottom, skidding on her hooves at the horrifying sight. There, on the ground, laid the remnants of a magical lock that was used to secure her secret laboratory entrance. More terrifying still was the light pouring in from behind the door, slightly ajar. The unmistakable clatter of glass slamming into a wooden surface from within sent a new wave of anxiety through Twilight. It ripped through her like a lightning bolt. She pressed forward, thrusting the door open to see the horrible reality in the flesh. Applejack, the orange earth pony who had haunted her thoughts and dreams for 7.
God, what is that stance, bro? What happened to you? Why are you like drooling chemicals? Why are you trying to kill chemicals? Why do you look like a feral animal? Oh! Oh Applejack needs a sandwich. Applejack needs like 50 freaking sandwiches. Jesus. How'd you get
languishing years, was standing unabashedly amongst the collection of empty potion.
How did she know about this? Wait, how did Applejack know about the secret laboratory? How the frick did she get in there anyway? How did she know about the... I guess maybe Twilight told her about the secret entrance or whatever, but then, like... I have so many questions.
Bottles. Her fur was pale, almost cream-colored from the lack of sunlight. The wounds that once marred her coat had healed into a series of scars, some fresher looking than others. Her standing gait was still irregular from the bones in her back hooves setting wrong all those years ago. Deep, dark circles lined sunken eyes, and the unmistakable lack of nourishment left the earth pony looking almost skeletal, with fur clasped tightly to the frail frame. Twilight opened her mouth to speak, but no words would come. Thoughts wouldn't solidify. Her body refused to move. How did she get in? Did she use the other passage? What happened to the lock? It was supposed to keep every pony out, to keep her work secret and safe. Finally caught me, huh?
No, okay, no, I am in a mood where I don't trust anything right now. I'm doing a Gravity Falls. I do not trust anything. Okay. So, remember that one scene in the Apple Sleep Experiment where, like, Applejack was in the hospital, whatever, and she was having those, like, hallucination dealios or whatever with Flim and Flam or whatever, and they had the weird voice and everything? I feel like there's something up here. I feel like Twilight... Something's happening with Twilight right now. And I don't know what it is. But this seems a little too strange. It seems a little bit too strange. There's too many questions here. It just it doesn't feel right. It feels like something is just... It feels like... I don't want to say it's a hallucination, but I'm leaning towards that. It is during the nighttime. I have no explanation as to why this would be a hallucination, but it's my running thing right now. It is my running... I'm running off of like 30 minutes of sleep that I had before I woke up did like 5 jumping jacks, ate cookies for like 5 minutes, and then walked around a bed to wake myself up to record. So, you know.
Applejack said. Her voice was far removed from the happy country-tinged accent that Twilight once knew.
Yeehaw.
Now, there was a deep graggle and a roughness akin to some pony dying of thirst. Gotta say, I thought you'd be here sooner. Suits me just fine, though.
Apple!
Yes, ma'am. That dirty little secret you've been trying to hide for years.
Bro, the
Bet
potion?
you thought I'd just fade into obscurity by now, huh? Afraid not. Applejack turned away from the stunned princess to clasp another potion bottle by the neck.
Oh my
She
God,
didn't
it's the
hesitate, tilting her head back as she brought the rim of the bottle to her mouth. The
Oh,
swirling purple liquid disappeared.
Wait a minute. So did she actually lie? Because the freaking double fake out. What the
past her
frick?
lips and into
This
her
is why I
gullet
don't
in
trust
2
anybody.
deep
This is why I don't
gulps.
trust anything anymore.
With a satisfied exhale, the earth pony mockingly licked her lips for any excess potion that may have lingered there. Twilight didn't know how it was possible to be even more horrified than
Did
before.
it taste good?
But
Did the
seeing
chemicals
that
taste good?
carelessness provoked a panicked outcry.
No! What are you doing? You don't know what that potion does!
Guess I'll have to figure that out now, won't I? Applejack said, her demeanor eerily calm and devoid of concern.
Why?
It's been so long.
Since
Can't
last I
remember
said
what it
something.
looks like, what color, what consistency. I need it. I need to feel that again. And I ain't got time to pore over your incessant drivel to find out. Applejack motioned to the bookshelf of journals that lined the laboratory walls. Twilight had recorded every potion and observation of their effects. It was a lifetime of work, and Applejack would have been there for hours. AJ kept piercing eye contact with Twilight as her hoof slowly reached for yet another unlabeled and unknown potion bottle. She was able to flick the stopper from the top and hold it aloft in her hoof, but this time was thwarted by a blast of magic. The magic shattered the glass and caused the earth pony to recoil. Twilight had firmly planted her hooves on the cold stone ground, a renewed sense of focus apparent in her horrified and worried expression.
You're looking for the sleepless potion? That's what started this mess! It's why you've been locked away! Why you killed all those ponies! Why
Why I
in
still have
Equestria would you
nightmares
think
at
I
night.
would keep that?
Twilight demanded, tears staining her cheeks, as her guilt roared itself to the forefront of her mind. You
It existed.
throw out a chance to study something. I may be out of touch, but I ain't stupid. Applejack snarled, casually brushing the pieces of shattered vial from her fur.
You've considered.
The worst time for that question, bro. Well, if you guys are dying to know, am I participating in No None November? Yeah, that's where you decide. Who knows? I may fail, I may succeed. Oh, scary, right? Anyway.
Consumed all of those?
Twilight gasped in horror, her eyes finally beholding the graveyard
Applejack,
of
you are
discarded
now a
bottles, beakers,
chemical
and vials around
in
her
itself.
laboratory. She stuttered in disbelief.
But not all of my potions are for ponies! There are several that can't be ingested!
Well, guess you better hope that these kill me then, huh?
I think she's just immortal at this
Dangerous
point,
to
honestly.
combine so much magic. I can only imagine the hell I'm in for if I drink the wrong ones. Not that it matters, of course. I suppose death is another way out of this hell you saddled me with. Twilight couldn't help but shudder at the unemotional way Applejack shirked off her own uncertain doom. Her eyes quickly scanned the potion bottles that remained.
Oh my god,
but
stop
she
with the
couldn't
weird
be sure
voice.
if that one was among them or not. Does that make
one.
me the experimenter?
That
Or
one.
the experiment? AJ asked rhetorically as she reached for yet another potion bottle. Twilight didn't hesitate, focused.
The apple sleep Oh my god, it was an experiment. That's all. Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. How did I? It literally was an I'm a monkey brain. I'm a smooth brain monkey. How did I not realize that? Oh yeah, the thing called Apple Sleep Experiment. Oh yeah, it did have something to do with an experiment. The potion did exist, and Twilight was probably studying Applejack's effects when she drank the potion. Why do you guys watch me?
Focusing her magical blast at the next potion to stop her. This time, however, Applejack was able to move quickly to the side and avoid the stream of magic. 1 second she was standing a few feet from the princess, and another she was across the room, bracing herself against a wall. Twilight's magic had landed on the bookshelf, destroying some of her journals. Singed pages fluttered about the room. Both ponies were initially stunned by Applejack's newfound agility, but AJ's surprise melted into sheer delight. Super speed? That's awfully handy. You've been holding out, Twilight.
No!
What would Rainbow think if she knew you had something like this all along?
Drop it!
Twilight screamed as she ignited her horn again, her crosshairs on Applejack's new position.
Y'all are dead.
If you say so. Applejack answered with a shrug, taking the potion in her hoof and smashing it against the floor. A great plume of green smoke overtook the room instantly, and Twilight reared back, inhaling the gaseous byproduct with a gasp. The immediate burning sensation in her nostrils started a wave of guttural coughing, so loud that she almost missed what Applejack said next. Ooh boy, hot and vision too? Twilight fucking Sparkle, you've outdone yourself. Twilight gritted her teeth and tried suppressing the burning in her throat to find the earth pony through the haze. She ignited her horn, but the light was useless against the thick green fog that lingered. To the left, Twilight heard the sound of glass sliding into AJ's hoof. Despite the limited visibility, it seemed that AJ was still going to down as much potion as she could find. Twilight knew she had to take action, and that it was better to stop Applejack than try and salvage her work. So, deeply chagrined, Twilight blasted magic in that direction, wincing at the sound of her precious equipment exploding on impact. Applejack laughed in response, clearly unharmed. Her voice was now coming from the right side of the room. Twilight whirled around again, desperate to stop her. It became very apparent that AJ was enjoying her new speed and sight as her voice bounced from one side of the room to the other. What's wrong? Having trouble aiming? Now why'd you go and shoot over there? Are you blind and dumb? Applejack continued on, unscathed and unceasing. Twilight was on autopilot now, striking every direction she could with a singular stream of magic. The lab became a magical frenzy as potions, books, machinery, and equipment exploded in disarray.
This is part of their plan.
Still, the princess knew she couldn't react. She couldn't afford to lose her concentration. However, the longer Twilight struggled, the more confident Applejack became. AJ delighted in adding to the chaos by smashing more potions onto the unforgiving stone floor. They each created new plumes of colorful smoke that consumed the room to keep her concealed. Twilight screamed in a fit of coughing, collapsing to the floor for the hope of some shred of fresh air that lingered there. Her magic was only making things worse, and the swirling colors of the room were so thick, it looked as though she could grasp the very air in her hooves. Twilight shakily and slowly pulled herself up again. She'd given up the hope of finding a clean breath, and did the only thing her brain could think of: chase Applejack on hoof. In her clumsy, desperate pursuit, she ran into just about every piece of furniture that still remained in the laboratory. Unseen objects nicked at her fur. Her mane and tail would occasionally catch on some kind of hanging debris, and little shards of broken potion bottles bit into her hooves. No matter where she turned, AJ was one step ahead, taunting and laughing at her frenzied flails.
You couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. You gotta be quicker than that, Twi. Gonna let me get away? Oh, you're not even trying.
Oh!
Want it. That secret of yours is coming out tonight. What's Ponyville gonna think?
You gotta
Eventually,
want it.
Twilight heard Applejack's hoofsteps rapidly ascending the stone stairs towards the bedroom. Applejack was escaping again, and Twilight was no closer to finding her than she was the door leading out. Panicked, she reached forward, her hooves colliding into the wooden table that had previously avoided the carnage. The splintered pieces raking across the flesh of her torso and forelegs as she fell. The impact of the fall disoriented Twilight, and the smoke inhalation was causing an unparalleled dizziness. Her ears were ringing loudly, but through its shrill scream, she still heard another beaker burst. Liquid splashed on her front hooves, but the sensation turned from wet to cold, then sharp to scorching in mere seconds. Twilight cried out in pain as she heard the sizzle, then felt the burn of acid eating her flesh. Still, she couldn't stop now. Nothing else mattered but getting to and stopping
Applejack. Not only were ponies in danger,
but her secret shame would be laid bare for all the world to see.
What horrible consequences would follow?
How many more ponies would have to die before Twilight would succumb to the reality that AJ
Applejack was beyond saving in any
capacity? As Twilight struggled to find her bearings again, a scream.
Oh my, please. My brain can't take this tonight. The freaking weird... Dude, AJ was going through this. AJ was going through this with the freaking hospital thing, with the whole weird voice, the questions, and just... I'm standing up. I'm spinning. I'm spinning. And I'm done spinning. I really want to understand this so bad. I really want to figure this out, but I cannot for the life of me.
Scream from above pierced through the mist. It was a horrifying scream of terror that snapped Twilight out of flight response and into fight response. With renewed focus, she teleported herself from the mess below, her horn still hiccuping with unstable magic. She tried to trace the origin of the sound, and appeared just outside of Starlight Glimmer's room.
Starlight! It's Applejack! She's in the castle!
Twilight screamed, pulling the handle of the door, only to find it wouldn't budge. Twilight slammed her body against the door, hoping it would give way, but it remained firm. Twilight shouted, pleading with the mare, who she could clearly hear tussling with some pony else from within. When more slams to the door didn't give way, she backed off and blasted it with magic. However, her spell instantly deflected, as if it met an invisible magical shield. It ricocheted and whizzed over Twilight's head, colliding into one of the castle pillars behind her. Twilight jumped aside when the pillar collapsed into a pile of gemstone-textured debris.
Replace me, do ya?
Twilight heard Applejack's voice behind the door, and she grew more desperate. The crumbling pillar beside her gave her a frantic but potentially helpful idea. She shifted her focus from the door to the wall beside it. Twilight's horn steadily grew with light and magic, and she gathered all the strength she had for this singular spell. When she released it, the magical collision roared through the hallway as stone crumbled and dust billowed. The hole it created in the wall was barely large enough to fit her frame, but Twilight pressed forward. She sucked in a deep breath and squeezed, contorted, and pushed herself through the wall. The dust hadn't settled yet, so Twilight had to squint through another haze to find both Applejack and Starlight glimmer. It was then that Twilight's eyes fell upon a gruesome sight. The unicorn mare was laying on the opposite side of the room, near the ruins that were once her belongings. As the dust from the explosion slowly settled, some of the destruction in the room came into view. The bed was in pieces, feathers from the pillows still adrift in the air, mixing with the dust from the explosion. The armoire was nearly unrecognizable. All that remained were sharp splinters of wood and strewn about clothing. A mirror that once stood atop a vanity table was smashed into tens of thousands of pieces. Clothing, tapestries, childhood memorabilia, eviscerated. Then there was Starlight herself, who was in a similar state of upheaval. Her skin was marred with fresh injuries. The red soaked through her fur so thoroughly that wounds were indistinguishable from one to the other. A bone in her back hoof was jutting backwards, disconnected from its place. But most horrific of all was the cascade of blood oozing through hooves that clung desperately through a severed jugular.
Why?
Starlight asked, her breath caught in her throat. She was looking up at something that had been hidden in the haze. Twilight blinked a few times to bring her eyes fully into focus in the dim light, and found Applejack looming over Starlight. There was a strange, unnatural, and unnerving smile on the Earth Pony's face, looking pleased with herself for ridding the world of her so-called replacement. This was the moment that Applejack was no longer a pony in Twilight's eyes, but a demon that needed to be destroyed.
Clearly magic was no threat to this evil
beast. So, Twilight changed tactics,
gripping a sharpened shard of mirror in her magic,
and leaping towards Applejack with a frenzied cry.
Yes, we gotta kill it, yes, okay. Alright.
Surely the weapon would instill some fear,
and at the very least, draw
Applejack away from Starlight. Much to Twilight's surprise, her plan worked. Applejack's face contorted to that of surprise, maybe even shock, and she didn't stick around long enough to see if the alicorn could bring herself to murder a pony in cold blood. She whizzed past Twilight so quickly, it seemed as though she was flying. In less time than it took for a pony to blink, Applejack leapt out of the hole the princess had just made in the wall.
She's unstoppable.
And disappeared without a trace. Twilight could do nothing but stare after her, her magic finally failing as the shard of glass clattered to the ground. She knew the severe consequences that would soon follow if she didn't pursue her, but Twilight's mind wouldn't detach itself from the need to save her friend.
Starlight! Starlight! Starlight!
This frame right here reminds me of, you know, the Friendship is Tragic frame with Twilight and Pinkie? You know the frame. You know it's reminding me of that. You can't just hit me like this. You can't just hit me like this. Like,
Her heartbeats were drumming loudly again, echoing Starlight's name over and over as she allowed insanity to creep into her reality.
Twilight.
Starlight stammered, each syllable uttered only strengthening the waterfall of life, drenching the mare's fur, and pulling underneath her. Twilight cried out unintelligibly, collapsing on the floor beside her friend.
She wanted to hold her, to ease the pain, to promise she'd be okay, to make it stop, but it would only delay the inevitable. Starlight's gasping and gagging was fading, and Twilight could do nothing but watch as Starlight clung to the last
shred of life.
Please! Please don't go!
I have a lot to say.
Don't leave me!
Twilight managed through garbled cries. She watched Starlight's face change from fear to confusion to finally sorrow. Twilight knew she should have said something, offer up some kind of solace or peace, but words wouldn't come. Instead, she helplessly kept her gaze locked on Starlight's as seconds slowly passed them by. The princess's stunned, silent grief was the last thing Starlight Glimmer witnessed in this world before slipping away into darkness. Twilight let out a scream that would echo through every hallway in the castle. She pulled Starlight into her embrace, cradling her body against her chest,
I
like a
don't want to
mother
say
coddling
anything.